America, home of the brave, land of the free, and playground to some of the dumbest people on the planet. Packed to the rafters with cretinous criminals, pea-brained policemen, disastrous drivers, and meat-headed morons. You're about to see some of the stupidest America has to offer. They may be big, but they sure ain't clever. This is America's Dumbest. Coming up, a bent postie gets toasted, crazy drivers come a cropper on the ice, and a clever criminal misses the door. There's no better place for an idiot to truly express himself than behind the wheel of an automobile. This traffic cop is pulling this car over for making an illegal turn. Just off camera, the cop is arrogantly swaggering up to the driver's window, blissfully unaware that something's amiss with his unattended car.
Morning.
It would appear that in his fervour to be irritatingly condescending to the poor lady, he's forgotten something quite important: his handbrake.
God damn it.
The driverless cruiser is now happily bowling under its own steam across a 4-lane highway, causing mayhem with the morning traffic. Until the car hits a telegraph pole.
Son of a bitch! Shit!
Now, many a cop would at this stage hold his hands up to his own stupidity, but not this guy. He returns to the car he's pulled over as if nothing has happened. Although it's not clear how he intends to explain the dented cruiser, damaged telegraph pole, and numerous eyewitness reports of an unmanned cop car making its way across town. The public would have been a lot safer if he'd stayed in his car with his hands on the steering wheel while the suspect came and checked his license.
Shit.
But the cop has a good explanation for what went wrong.
Oh, fine, it just jumped out of gear.
Oh, well, that's okay then. No harm done. At least it's not as bad as the time he forgot to lock the county jail. How to commit the perfect crime. This is not the kind of thought that troubles idiots like mailman Ricky Wood. Postal inspectors are watching Ricky because he's stealing children's birthday money from mailboxes on his own delivery route. Because all the thefts occur from houses he visits, this makes Ricky the only possible suspect. A quick glance over his shoulder before stealing the mail, and off he goes. The postal inspector, or Magnum PI as he likes people to call him,
I need another body. I'm ready to go on this guy.
is quick to arrest Ricky.
You're under arrest for theft of mail.
For what?
For theft of mail. All right?
You got any proof? You got any proof?
Well, Ricky, how about all this mail you were supposed to deliver stuffed in a Slurpee cup in your motor, and the footage of you stealing it, and that you used the marked stolen money to buy the Slurpee? We hope Ricky has a nice time in prison, where you can play mailman all day and get all kinds of things pushed in your slot. Still to come, forwards and backwards get all mixed up for this moron. The prospect of going to jail gets this guy going. And this robber voluntarily doubles his sentence to arson. America's Dumbest Drivers. We see it time and time again on America's Dumbest. Cars and cretins just don't mix. If there's one insanely dangerous position for someone with the IQ of a potato, it's in control of a 3-ton truck. And double up the danger when there's ice on the road, because a moron sure ain't gonna slow down. Check out this buffoon. He's heading downhill on ice and he hits the gas to speed up. What follows is the ice capade from hell as our driver tries to con the law of physics by doing just what it least expects. First he hits the gas, then he hits the wall. But he's too dumb to let colliding with other cars discourage him. He floors it again. And that road sign shouldn't have been on the pavement anyway. Who reads those? Certainly not this bloke. The car may be mangled, but it's probably in better shape than the inside of this moron's head. As he picks up his hubcaps, other motorists return to their decimated vehicles, wondering if it's just finished snowing bowling balls. So next time you hear the RAC warn you not to make non-essential journeys on icy roads, jump in your car and head down to the shops. Risking life and limb for a pack of mini cheddars and a scratch card is all in a day's work for a proper idiot. Wear that neck brace with pride. When you get arrested, they'll tell you that you have the right to use the telephone to make one phone call. This is not how you do it. It's not clear whether he wanted to call a lawyer or not, but pulling stunts like that isn't going to make this stalker any brighter. Ironically, our mullet-topped Avenger is in court on charges of making nuisance phone calls to his girlfriend. If this is anything to go by, he must have been going through about 5 phones a day. He's still struggling on the floor and catches one of the cops with a headbutt, so out comes the pepper spray.
All right, back off.
Which takes him firmly out, and also gasses everyone else in the room.
This court is in recess.
As our phone pest's eyes burn like old tyres, cops concentrate on doing what they do best, roughing him up a bit. Even though the noxious chemicals they've just sprayed in his face are so powerful, they have to evacuate the courtroom.
All right, gentlemen.
While the other prisoners file out, the phone nutter gets a moment to contemplate how a charge of stalking just turned into 30 days in jail for contempt of court. After all potential witnesses have left the room, the cops get in one final dig, this time with the door. The next time he finds himself in trouble with the law, he might want to skip calling a lawyer and phone himself an ambulance instead. Police were called to this closed restaurant in San Antonio, Texas in the early hours of the morning. The alarm had been triggered by some movement and noise coming from an extractor fan vent. When they arrived, they discovered not a small, inquisitive animal following the scent of food. They found a foot. This burglar had just got out of jail when he decided to rob a closed restaurant by heading the wrong way down a grease-lined vent. Sitting above an American fast food joint meant that the chimney, far from being prepared for die-hard style action heroes, was in fact thick with grease and the fat of 1,000 hot dogs. That, combined with the fact that it was only about a foot wide, meant that once the robber was down the chimney, there was no going back. When the cops finally got him out, he faced the tortuous journey off to jail, knowing that his lubricated state will make him a big hit on G-Wing. Here on America's Dumbest, we like to give our viewers random IQ tests, so what's wrong with this scene? Yes, that's right, the world has gone mad and all these cars are on the wrong side of the road. At least that's what the 80-year-old lady behind the wheel of this motor thinks. Obviously, she's going to give the cops a piece of her mind. If everyone keeps driving down the highway the wrong way, one day she's going to get hurt. But maybe this octogenarian isn't all that crazy after all. We all know how keen your gran can be to get someone to pop in for a cup of tea and a chat. While the lovely policeman driving her home may as well be wearing a badge saying captive audience. And if Estelle doesn't show up for tea and biscuits in the morning, you can bet Grandma will be straight round to number 36 with a can of petrol, some matches and a plate of scones for those lovely firemen. Coming up, he's a fire starter, a thickie fire starter. A car thief starts showing off for the cameras. And confusion in a convenience store as a gunman is met by a gunman. Coming up, pinching money is not enough for this pyromaniac perp. Cops and crims alike are excited by this lady's delicates.
You can see him grabbing the panties.
And it's gunfight at the OK convenience store. I've been framed. Welcome to the part of the show where we watch the cops set a trap for the criminals and let them stumble brainlessly into it. Across the pond, cops enjoy nothing more than to set a trap for a crook, and one of the policeman's favourite methods is the bait car. A nice motor fitted with cameras left unlocked with the keys in it in a nasty part of town. The crims don't stand a chance. And here's the view from the hidden camera inside a bait car as the criminal drives it round at breakneck speed while test firing a revolver. He can't even be bothered to stop as he uses a lock drill to clear the barrel of a potentially lethal misfire. This all-star dimwit actually turned up to steal this bait car in another stolen motor, and he's not about to stop there. More easy pickings, a mobile phone. He's blissfully unaware the camera's filming his every move and goes about his crime spree with a casual saunter. He spies another car, the third he's broken into on this rampage, but the latest break-in is not so lucky. A passerby interrupts him and he's off, Grand Theft Auto style. And now with the cops up his pipe, he really starts to enjoy himself. Not content with wrecking everything else, he finally has a go at the defenseless driver's airbag. Possibly a bad idea because the way this guy drives, there's every chance he'll be needing it later. Far from making a discreet getaway, he manages to hit another 3 cars. He was later unable to explain to a judge why he was riding round in a stolen bait car with 2 hand drills, a screwdriver and a hacksaw. He got 4 years. The point of any crime is to balance the reward with the risk. If I'm going to steal a pack of polos, it's best not to break into the shop using a rocket launcher. Watch the guy with the red petrol can. He's definitely from the rocket launcher school of overkill. As he approaches the counter, he seems like a regular Joe. Then, when the cashier turns, he starts pouring out the petrol. He threatens to light the petrol unless she gives him all her money. Finally, she opens the till, and as she runs off again, he grabs the money and quickly stuffs it in his pocket. Now, in a moment of world-beating insanity, he ignites the fuel and starts a fire in a petrol station. Is he some evil supervillain, stealing priceless diamonds and needing to cover his tracks with some kind of apocalyptic distraction? No, he's stealing $60. And now he's tried to cover the theft of that $60 by creating a bonfire next to thousands of gallons of fuel. So you can add to petty theft the charges of arson, attempted murder, and endangering the life of most people within a 40-mile radius. Definitely worth it. Still to come, a not-so-clever nick-a-thief gets nicked, and very intelligent vandals provide their own video evidence. A quiet convenience store in Middle America. Just one person on the till. I think we all know what's coming. So we've got the lone shopkeeper. Lots of CCTV cameras covering every angle and the innocent bystander ready to get in the way. All we need now is the robber. And here he comes. It's not supposed to happen like this. Standard store robbery procedure is enter store, point gun at shopkeeper, take money, leave. Not enter store, point gun at shopkeeper, run into undercover cop, drop gun and surrender. Of all the convenience stores in all the world, this robber walks into one where an armed cop is having a natter. As the cashier dials 911 and calls for backup for the lone copper, the supposed burglar is left face down on the floor of the shop wondering where it all went wrong. Other customers are discouraged from entering by the man pointing a gun at them. And eventually help arrives and the robber is carted off into custody. So next time you're thinking about doing over your local corner shop, a quick check inside to see who's at the counter may be in order, or you could find your criminal career ending before it's even begun. In a high-speed pursuit, the cops have a set list of things to do, one of which is shooting out the tyres of the fleeing car. This should force the assailant to lose control and crash. So far in this chase, the cops have done everything by the book, but what happens next leaves them a little stumped. They're expecting the well-toasted road hog to do the police chase thing and roll to the side of the road, leap out of his car and run off into the night. But this guy isn't your run-of-the-mill idiot. He's Captain Stupid, king of all idiots. He pulls over, but he's not going anywhere. At a point at which most people are worried about making even the slightest wrong move and getting shot, this guy decides to have a chat on his mobile. The cops just stare in disbelief. Can they shoot someone in the head for making a phone call? A bit lost for ideas on what to do next, the lawman passed the time by shouting at him.
Put your hands out the window!
The cops are left looking a little silly. There's nothing in their rulebook which explains what to do if a felon completely ignores them. They've called in the SWAT team, but even they're a bit puzzled as to what should happen next. Even though this crim is viciously wielding a mobile phone, he's not technically posing that much of a threat. So, remembering that the police American football tournament is coming up, they decide to practice their scrummaging. In a rather unsophisticated move, 6 SWAT team members just run into him. Not what you might describe as a surgical strike. SWAT stands for Special Weapons and Tactics, and it clearly took thousands of dollars of equipment and months of special training to come up with this play. We've all been there. 9 to 10 hours flat out watching home makeover shows, and suddenly you find yourself in court. Yep, this DIY lark seems pretty simple at first. Sick of your old bathroom style? Fix it with a hammer. Lighting all wrong? Knock the crap out of it. Toilet looking a bit grungy? Smack it sideways. It'll look completely different in no time. Next door won't have one that looks like this. Just one thing to remember, when performing a radical bathroom makeover, make sure you check with the owner first. Otherwise, you could find yourself looking sheepish in court next to your mum, having had your ponytail cut off and given a damn good walloping. Maybe you shouldn't have shown her the tape after all. So you don't have a job and you haven't had a girlfriend since your sister moved out. How else are you going to spend a sunny summer afternoon than sitting on your porch fondling yourself with one of next door's G-strings on your head? The problem for sexual deviants everywhere is where to get the knickers. So when this chap stumbled across a plentiful supply, he made a regular stop on his journey home every day. Suddenly aware of having to do more and more washing, the owner of the pants called in a crack squad from the underwear theft department of the local police. They set up cameras and caught some interesting things.
You can see him grabbing the panties. And that's when you seen two men, of course I was dressed in plain clothes, we dodged out the door, yelled, "Police, freeze, stop." And he even confronted our victim the very first time. They looked each other in the face and had this amazing shock upon his face, but he still came back.
With another job well done, the thong recovery team move on to the next briefs case, where they're tracking their thief by following his skid marks.
You can see him grabbing the panty, grabbing the panty, grabbing the panties.
Time now to decide who was America's dumbest. We had a stalker who was a real phone pest. There was a postman who might as well have posted himself straight to jail. And there was a thief who stole a bait car and used it to film himself on a crime spree. But the stupidest trick of them all has to be the copper whose cruiser cruised itself off into the sunset. Congratulations, you, sir, are America's dumbest.